My fiancée sent me a text. I'm going to stay at my ex's place for a few days to clear my head. Don't make this weird. I responded simply. Take all the time you need. Then I got busy. I had her bag sent to her mother's house and shut off the phone line I'd been paying for. 4 days later, she turned up at our building, luggage in tow. The doorman told her she didn't live there anymore. Now she's been calling me from her mom's phone, practically pleading just to have a conversation. Funny, I always figured I'd never be the kind of guy to write one of these posts. But life doesn't usually ask permission before flipping the script. About 2 weeks ago, Amber, my fiancée, sent a message that changed the course of everything. I'm at Derek's for a few days. I need some space to think. Don't make it weird. Derek, yeah, that Derek. Her college ex. The same guy she once swore was ancient history, back when I caught them messaging each other 6 months into our relationship. The same one who never missed a chance to comment on her Instagram posts. Oh, and as luck would have it, he just happened to be at the same professional conference as her last year. When I read her text, I stared at it for 5 straight minutes. We'd been together for 3 years, engaged for 8 months, already put down deposits on our wedding venue, and she was off, clearing her head, at her ex's apartment. I shot back 5 words. Take all the time you need. And then I went to work. Now, for some context, I'm a systems analyst by trade. My whole job revolves around spotting weaknesses, planning ahead, and putting efficient solutions into place. I'm not the kind of person who loses it emotionally. I'm the kind who executes a game plan. And second, our lives weren't just emotionally connected. They were financially and practically woven together in ways that I don't think Amber ever really thought through. Within a single day, I'd done the following. First, I contacted the building management and had her removed from the approved residence list. The lease? Entirely in my name. Despite living there nearly 2 years, she'd never signed the addendum. Second, I deactivated her key fob that gave access to the gym, pool, and parking garage, all perks that came with my personal membership. Third, I shut down the second line on my phone plan, hers, which I'd added after her phone broke 6 months ago, and I covered the cost. Fourth, I moved her share of our joint savings back into her personal bank account. We had kept separate accounts alongside our joint one specifically to be prepared for situations just like this. Fifth, I boxed up all of her things, clothes, makeup, jewelry, electronics, anything that was exclusively hers, and had them shipped to her mom's place with a short note. These are Amber's belongings. Please make sure she receives them. Sixth, I reached out to the venue, photographer, caterer, and all the other wedding vendors to let them know we were postponing. Thankfully, I'd insisted on contracts with clear cancellation terms, one of the perks of thinking like an analyst. I didn't send angry texts. I didn't blow up her phone. I just calmly and thoroughly started untangling our lives. The next day, her mom called me, clearly confused. Amber's things just arrived. What's going on? She's decided to stay at her ex's for a while to get some clarity. I said as calmly as possible. I'm just helping her find even more of that by giving her space. If she needs to get in touch, she can reach me through you, since her phone might not be working anymore. Silence. She did what? Her mom finally asked. Turns out Amber hadn't mentioned this whole ex-boyfriend situation to her family. That was interesting. 4 days later, while I was working from home, the doorman, Travis, called me. Sir, there's a Ms. Amber Winters here, says she lives in your unit. She's not on the resident list, and her key card's not functioning. Standard procedure is to check with the unit owner. Thanks, Travis. Please inform Ms. Winters that she no longer resides here. Do not grant her access. Understood, sir. 20 minutes later, my work phone started blowing up with calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Straight to voicemail they went. The first one was Amber, her voice shaking. What the hell, Ryan? I came home, and they wouldn't let me in. My key doesn't work. My phone's dead. Call me back now. I didn't call back. The second message. This isn't funny anymore. Where's all my stuff? Why can't I get into our apartment? Then came one from her mom's number. Ryan, please. I made a mistake. Can we just talk about this? It's not what it looks like. Please, just call me. Still, I didn't respond. I wrapped up my work for the day, hit the gym, which, by the way, she no longer had access to, and made myself a peaceful dinner. Later that night, I finally sent her one message from my phone to her mom's number. Amber, I've received your messages. Just to clarify, there is no our apartment, the lease is solely in my name. There is no our phone plan, I cancelled the line I was paying for. There is no our wedding, I've postponed everything. You chose to go stay with your ex to sort things out. Consider it sorted. Your belongings were delivered to your mother's place 4 days ago. If you're missing anything, send me a list and I'll see if it's still here. That message opened the floodgates. Suddenly, her friends were calling. Her sister. Even her dad eventually got involved. Now, I respected her father. He called me sounding completely worn out. Ryan, he said, would you be willing to meet? Just me, no drama. I agreed, but suggested a neutral place. We met at a coffee shop the next afternoon. When we sat down, the look he gave me was hard to read. Amber says you overreacted, he began. She says Derek is just a friend, and she needed time to think about the wedding. I gave a small nod and placed my phone gently on the table. I usually don't record conversations, I said, but I started keeping receipts when things didn't sit right. Then I hit play. It was an audio clip from 3 weeks earlier, Amber talking on the phone, thinking I wasn't around. I don't know, Derek, yeah, I'm still engaged. No, I haven't told him yet. It's complicated. I just need more time. The wedding's already paid for. I'll figure it out. Her father looked crushed. There's more, I told him. But that about sums it up. He rubbed his face, visibly disappointed. Her mother and I raised her better than this. I believe you did, I replied. We sat there for a while without saying anything. Eventually, he asked, so what now? Now? I said. Nothing. It's over. The moment she chose to stay with her ex, the relationship ended. Everything since then has just been paperwork. It's been 10 days since that coffee meeting. And in that time, Amber's version of events has taken quite a few twists and turns. Version 1, she just needed some space, and I cruelly locked her out and stole her stuff. Version 2 of her story? She was simply confused about the wedding, and Derek was just an old friend giving her some helpful perspective. Version 3? I was controlling and paranoid, apparently. She claimed she leaned on a friend from the past because she felt suffocated. The latest version? She slipped up once, just a single mistake, and now I'm cruelly punishing her for it. Funny how none of these narratives ever mentioned the phone conversation I overheard. No one brings up the fact that she packed a bag and went to her ex's place overnight. Or that during those 4 days she was gone, not once did she try to call or message me, until she found herself locked out. And just when I thought that was the end of the plot twists, yesterday, I got a message on Instagram, from Derek's girlfriend. Yeah, turns out he had one too. She said Derek told her he was just helping a friend through some pre-wedding nerves. Then she found some of their text exchanges and realized there was more going on then. Support. She moved out of his apartment. So here we are, 2 women who thought they were in solid relationships, both finding themselves out on the curb. Neither one had their name on the lease, and both are learning what happens when you treat living arrangements as assumed rather than agreed. I blocked Amber on everything but email, which now filters into a folder I check once a week, out of habit more than curiosity. Her stuff is still with her mom. The wedding deposits are mostly refundable, and once everything's finalized, I'll send her back her share. Some people might say I'm being cold about this. Maybe I am. But you know what's colder? Telling your fiancé you're staying at your ex's house like it's no bigger deal than running errands. Some folks need long, drawn-out, emotional conversations to find closure. I'm not one of them. I just need a clean break and logical boundaries. She sent a text. I took it literally. And that was the end of it. Update: 3 weeks have passed since this all went down. First off, thanks for all the support, messages, comments, all of it. I read every single one, even if I didn't respond. A few people asked about the engagement ring. Yes, I got it back. Sort of indirectly. After the coffee meeting with Amber's dad, he went home and apparently had a serious heart-to-heart with her and her mother. The next day, a courier dropped off a small box. Inside was the ring, my grandmother's, and a handwritten note from her father that simply said, "This should be returned to your family." The man's got class, I'll give him that. Now, about the legal side. A bunch of folks brought up tenant rights, since Amber had been living in the apartment for almost 2 years. Before I made any moves, I spoke with a lawyer. In our state, unless her name was on the lease or she could prove direct rent payments to the landlord, her rights were limited. Still, I kept receipts. I documented everything, texts, actions, timestamps. Just in case. So far, it hasn't become an issue. And for those wondering about the recorded conversation, it wasn't technically a recording. That part was a bit of a misunderstanding. What actually happened, I came home early from a work event and overheard her on the phone through our paper-thin apartment walls. As soon as I heard what she said, I wrote it all down in detail. It's just something I do, an old habit from work. Document vulnerabilities. Not a literal recording, just my own notes. As for where Amber is now, from what mutual friends have told me, most of whom have taken my side after hearing the full story, she's still living at her parents' place. Derek, it seems, chose to try patching things up with his girlfriend instead of playing White Knight for Amber. Amazing how fast people reassess their priorities when reality catches up with them. Wedding logistics? Surprisingly smooth. The venue was professional and understanding. They've seen situations like this before, apparently. Most vendors refunded deposits minus small admin fees. I calculated Amber's portion and will transfer it to her once the last of the refunds clear. At this point, it's just business. One unexpected twist: Amber's younger sister reached out. She apologized for the angry calls she made early on and told me that after hearing everything, she was embarrassed by her sister's behavior. She wanted me to know not everyone in the family stands by what happened. We'd always gotten along, and I appreciated her reaching out like that. A lot of people keep asking if I've spoken to Amber since it all blew up. The answer is still no. I've read every email she sent, once a week, like clockwork, but I haven't responded. They've gone through stages. First it was outrage. You had no right. Then came negotiation. We can work through this. That shifted into regret. I understand why you're hurt. And now apology. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I've read them all. But what would be the point in replying? The last message she sent included this line: I never actually did anything with Derek. I just needed to figure out if what we had was real, or if there were still feelings there. Even if that's true, and I have serious doubts, what kind of person texts their fiancé that they're staying at their ex's place to think? That alone broke the trust. Everything else after that was just a matter of cleaning up after the collapse. Call it the system response after a full-scale failure. Edit: just logged into a flood of new messages and comments. Honestly, I'm overwhelmed by the support. To the folks calling me robotic or heartless, look, when someone shows you who they are, you either believe them or you keep hurting yourself trying not to. Amber showed me who she was with that text. After that, I just processed the data and acted accordingly. As for whether I had suspicions earlier, there were signs. A second, locked Instagram account I caught a glimpse of once. Moments where she disappeared without clear explanations. Her tone would shift whenever his name came up. But nothing concrete, until I overheard that call 3 weeks before her infamous text. I'm not a naturally suspicious guy. But I pay attention. I've always been naturally observant, that's just how my brain works. Not paranoid. Just paying attention. Now, about her stuff, some folks have accused me of either stealing her belongings or holding them hostage, which is just not the case. Let me be completely clear. Every single item that was clearly hers was packed with care, listed out in an inventory, and sent directly to her parents' house. No drama. No games. As for shared things, gifts, household items, furniture, those stayed right where they were. If there's anything else she thinks is missing, she's more than welcome to send me a list. I'll review it, and if something was overlooked, I'll handle it fairly. This wasn't about spite. It was about clean separation. And to the people who keep asking why I didn't fight to save the relationship, what exactly would I have been fighting for? The chance to spend the rest of my life wondering where my wife is every time she needs to clear her head. Living with that constant knot in my stomach when she doesn't answer a call? Spending years of marriage glancing at her phone every time she showers, wondering what I'll find. That's not love. That's surveillance. That's anxiety dressed up as devotion. A few folks have reached out asking if I regret ending it all over. One mistake. But this wasn't just one slip-up. The mistake was hitting send on that message. The choice was walking through the door of her ex's place and staying there. The betrayal, whatever happened behind that door, even if it was just emotional. And the real problem was her thinking that behavior was somehow okay while we were engaged. This isn't revenge. Not to me. I'm not out here trying to get back at her or hurt her. I just reacted to new information. When you're a systems analyst, revenge isn't on the radar. What we do is assess the data, recognize the vulnerability, and implement a solution. That's all I did.